January's life app is self-control, which means choosing to do what you should even when you don't want to. Self-control is the fruit of the Spirit, which means it's the evidence that God is in our lives. Self-control is also the critical first step for almost any situation. 2 Peter 1 says that God has given us everything we need to lead a godly life. So when we have self-control, it's like we're pushing the pause button, which gives God a chance to show up and give us what we need. This Sunday, we illustrate that a life without self-control is dangerous. Proverbs 25 says, like a city whose walls are broken through is a person without self-control. Self-control and walls work in the same way, but with one major difference. Walls protect people from bad things getting in, but self-control protects us from bad things getting out. Our bottom line this week is, when you lose control, it can cause trouble. Now it is time to take something very abstract like self-control and make it very practical and have fun doing it with some small group activities. But before we do that, I just want to say, guys, let's really dig into this concept of self-control. Let's you and me make this our devotional for this month, because honestly, this is not something just for kids. We never outgrow self-control. Just this morning, I was in prayer and my mind was racing, and I used the idea that self-control is the pause button. And as I did that, I paused my thought process and I tried to focus in on what I was supposed to be doing, like praying. And as I did that, God just reminded me of all the things that His Word tells us that happens when we pause, when we wait. Isaiah 41, when all those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. And so the very act of pausing, giving God a chance to show up and remind us of what He's given us is critical. It's critical for every day of our life, not just the major decisions or those major moments that really push our buttons, but for everyday living. Self-control is a critical first step that you and I need to become very comfortable with, learning how to pause and wait upon God so that He can show us what He wants us to do next. So guys, I'm looking forward to this month because it's super practical for our kids, and I really feel like we're giving them some really good handles on how to use self-control and how to recognize that God is actually working in their life. Now, let's jump into the small group activities and find out how we can have fun with self-control. Before we get into kindergarten, first grade activities, I want to say something about the new model of service that we've attempted over the last couple weeks for the kindergarten first grade group. There's a lot of moving pieces, and while I think this is a good idea, it's a good goal, I think right now it's a bit hectic to try to do this new way. So we're going to push pause on the new model where the K-1s leave after worship and then come back for a whole new large group. This week we will keep the kids in large group, and then all kindergarten first grade activities, small groups, will meet in the large group room. We're going to use the partition to break up the room into two, and yeah, it'll be a little hectic, it'll be different, but we're just at a place where we have to make it work. So that's what we're going to do, and while we're doing that, I'm going to figure out all the other moving pieces and make sure that those are in place before we try to attempt this again. Because I think it is a good thing for the kindergarten first grade group. I think it'll benefit them. But like I said, there's just a lot of moving pieces that I don't think we're ready for. So let's get to the small group activities. First activity is called Broken Down, and this is a Bible story review. And so what you're going to do is you're going to pick two kids from the group to be the enemies, and you're going to give them a couple of balls, and I'm thinking the snowballs that we use for Christmas Eve. And then you're going to guide the rest of the kids to form a line and to put their hands on the shoulders of the person in front of them, and then they're going to sing Proverbs 25:28 to the tune of London Bridge. And that is in your binder, so you can practice that a couple times before small group. I'm not going to attempt that on camera because you'll blackmail me and it will work. So the goal is to have the kids sing London Bridge, and when you sing the final broken down phrase, guide the kids to fall on the floor, and then you're going to cue the enemies to come rushing in and start throwing the snowballs at them. And then give the kids the instruction, but let them do what they want to do after that. Just make sure you as a leader are making sure no one's getting hurt or trampled or maimed or anything worse. Okay? And just maybe do this once or twice, and because we're illustrating what happens when the walls fall down, right? And so that's the activity. And then the what you say part is basically reminding them of self-control are like the walls around our hearts. They help us stay protected. And like a wall protects a city from bad guys coming in, self-control keeps us from making bad choices or doing things that we know we shouldn't do. Because sometimes we get frustrated or we get angry or we just get excited and we do things that we know we shouldn't do. But self-control helps us to pause and ask God for strength. And now this would be a great time for you as a leader to tell them a story of a time when self-control worked or didn't work for you. Keep it kid-friendly, keep it age-appropriate, and use that story to illustrate the value of pausing and the value of waiting on God to give them what they need. Because the reality is, self-control is available to them. We just have to teach them how to put it into practice. And then in the small group with the bottom line, which is when you lose control, it can cause trouble. The next activity is called Clicker Flicker, and this is an application activity, and you're going to need some Clicker Flicker activity pages as well as a hula hoop or a vinyl circle for each child. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to assign each child a hula hoop or a circle to stand in or on, and then you're going to show them the Clicker Flicker cards. And those cards have corresponding actions that the kids are going to do when you show them. And some of the cards there's multiple copies of them, so they're going to do those more than the others. And the actions are illustrated on the card itself. So for the Clicker Flicker cards that say play, stop, pause, fast, forward, and rewind, the actions are in your binder. So play, they do the motion that's shown on the card. Stop, they crouch down and freeze. Fast forward, they move one hula hoop to the right. Rewind, they move one hula hoop to the left. And pause, they freeze in place. And then the other Clicker Flicker cards are spin, jumping jacks, hop, or frog jumps. And so teach the kids what to do for the main ones: play, stop, pause, fast forward, and rewind. There's multiple of those cards in the stack that's given to in your box. And teach them those, and then the other ones are really simple to catch. And then go through this a few times. And the whole purpose of this is to have fun, but for also to teach them to pay attention. And because the What You Say segment is all about paying attention and the importance of why they should pay attention. So the What You Say is all about why should you pay attention? Because it helps you know what you're supposed to do, like paying attention to your teacher so that you know when it's time to line up, or pay attention to your parents when they tell you what to do so you can follow through and be a good kid, I guess. But all that's in the What You Say part, but it boils down to the importance of paying attention. And when they pay attention, they can better understand what's going on around them. And the great thing about self-control is that we're teaching them that self-control is pausing. Pausing to give God a chance to teach them or show them what they should do. Pushing pause on frustration or anger or excitement. Learning to press pause so that they can pay attention better to what's going on around them, because if they lose control, then it can cause trouble. But with self-control comes blessing and happiness. Our final activity is the Pray and Dismiss, and the activity in the binder is a really good one. It's where you all gather the kids to line up shoulder to shoulder like a wall, and then you basically review the lesson, and you talk about the importance of protection of a wall. So I encourage you to read through that and maybe use it if you want, if you have time. But ultimately, we want to pray. We want to pray that God would give the kids self-control. We want to pray that God would give them eyes to see when they do have self-control. Because when they do have self-control, it's evidence that God is with them and that God is giving them everything that they need. And so end with praying, and even if it's a last minute, parents are at the door, just say a real quick prayer, because when we do that, we're elevating the importance of prayer. It's not just something we do at some dinner someplace. It's really important. It's really, really important that we connect what we're doing in a small group to asking God to make it come to pass. Like, we can't do this unless God is involved. So make prayer a part of your final closing part of your activities.